He gets it back, right circle, pulls the trigger, and scores! Sweet, cuddly mayhem! It's teddy bear toss time!
The teddy bear toss broke the world record yet again. But do the bears actually go somewhere? And when? We have to start at the beginning with a purple teddy bear, weaving through a sold-out crowd on its way to a chair. Fans young and old anxiously waiting for the first Hershey score. To launch their plush
Furry creatures of all shapes and sizes.
and watch them soar. In just minutes, the piles of animals line the ice, while dozens of volunteers bag them up to be counted twice.
I haven't counted one bear yet.
From the rink to the back hallway while the game resumes, counting for hours and hours, thousands of bears piled up in rooms.
35 medium. 35.
They're numbered and thrown into trucks for the night, ready to bring a smile to a child at first daylight. Pickup morning brings 25 organizations from the community. To connect a bear to a child, a perfect opportunity.
One person left today and said, I just loaded my car with 10,000 smiles.
Cocoa Packs fights childhood hunger with dignity and respect.
It is a life changer. You know, it's a game changer.
A daily meal and an extra smile
Layla.
has just that effect.
I love it so much. This is my prized possession now.
For some kids who don't have a lot, I think it makes a huge impact.
From the ice to a child, each bear has a mission, and that smile is the reason for the 20-year tradition.
So I'm going to crank this on. This is rough sawn oak. I'm going to cut 45s on it to make the peak roof for this little birdhouse that I'm working on here. My name is Greg, the Birdman of Brogue. It was all born from the pandemic. My wife and I, we would normally travel a lot all over the world we've been. I have some health conditions, so we can't do that, and COVID made it nearly impossible for me to do that. I needed something to keep me busy. I got into making birdhouses and bird feeders. This was a piece that I picked up at Goodwill. I think it was just an old box for important papers or something. And this is going to be a 2-unit birdhouse, one hole here, one hole here. And then this layer here will be a feeder. And then I'll put a metal or slate roof on top. I learned how to take a lot of things that we would normally either throw away or just have sitting around the house and turn them into birdhouses and bird feeders. Now I probably have hundreds in stock. This was an old basket, wicker basket, picnic basket. This one here was an old wine rack, and it held 8 bottles of wine. Now each place where a bottle went is a house. This is a 1910 Model T wheel. It's a 4-unit house. I think the favorite part of me is the challenge, taking something that would otherwise be junk or thrown away and thinking of a way that I can repurpose and turn it into something useful once again.
It changed the entire landscape of video games. When you talk about Pac-Man, it was something different that came along. The thing I really liked about Pac-Man in general, and it's not really the case with some of the other games from that era, is there's a total that you can achieve and the game is over. I thought that was a great challenge. I am Derek Sefcik, and I am now known as the 11th person in the world to ever get a perfect Pac-Man on an original arcade machine. My wife called me from the store and said, hey, I saw one of these mini arcade games. This is what I received in February 2021 as a birthday gift. Started playing on this, got pretty far. The high score is 999,090 on it.
I didn't think he was going to be a Pac-Man world champion, but I did think that he was going to enjoy the challenge of beating his score on a regular basis and getting better.
2 or 3 weeks in, I thought to myself, there's got to be a strategy here. All I'm doing is moving away from the ghosts, running from them, and if you can learn how they move, you can manipulate where they're at in position to where you are. So maybe about a month in, it hit me one night. Through the first 2 boards, the maximum possible score is 30,000 points, and I hit that. And I remember texting my family, they were upstairs, and I said, I'm going for the highest score ever. I'm going to do this. There was a total of 256 boards. I wanted to get there by eating every ghost, every prize, maximum possible score that you can get. And that was it. I wanted to get to the end perfect on just one guy and get a perfect score of 3,333,000. 3,360. After playing for a while, I realized that in order for a score to be authentic, you had to be on original hardware. Got the Ms. Pac-Man machine, dropped in an original Pac-Man PCB board. From Labor Day, it was about 10 weeks until I ultimately achieved my goal.
And I didn't realize how many hours he was actually doing it until when he almost beat it the one time and he said, oh, that was like 5.5 hours. And I realized how much time he was spending down there.
We're gonna go for it here. So it was November 14th, 2021. There we go. Everything just started to click. It was approximately 4 hours and 30 minutes. When you think of the number of games that have been played, and the fact that there had only been 10 people that had ever done it before, that's an accomplishment in my book. To be able to say I'm one of 11 people in the world to have done something, it was just a great feeling.
I've always been athletic since my young 20s. I've really changed some of my training for this journey. My name is Andrea Wells. I head out on May 9th to fly to Nepal, where I will start my journey on trekking to Everest Base Camp. It didn't take me too long to decide this is probably a great opportunity and I'm gonna take it. I work for Stadia Church Planting, who is a nonprofit. We help people who are passionate about starting new churches. Our president came to me and said, I'm gonna put this trek together to raise money and I wanna invite you to come. And each of our goals on our team is to raise at least $50,000. That will 100% of that will go towards starting those new churches. The whole hike itself is 19 days. There'll be a lot of acclimating in that.
Okay.
Where we'll start altitude-wise will be somewhere around 8,000 feet, but we will go the whole way up until we hit about 18,000 feet above sea level.
Keep those hips up.
The training for altitude has not been awesome.
Hip ups, last one.
My trainers here have been super helpful with endurance and strength training and building muscle.
Whew.
Good job.
It's good.
Definitely endurance is one of the biggest things that we're kind of focusing on. Squat, press.
Okay.
Just because you need that endurance to keep going every single day. Cardio, keeping heart rate up throughout the workout.
Ooh.
Set those down.
Good grief.
You can make an impact wherever you're at. You don't have to climb Mount Everest to make an impact.
Keep it strong.
You can make an impact in the world around you.
All right, now we are done with that.
It's not your normal after-school group.
Everybody's good with that? Yeah. Okay, so here's what we need to do.
It's a group of students that share something in common.
Our group's vision or goal is to have students who have lost somebody realize that they're not alone. Like other people have these feelings and are going through the same experiences that they are.
It's called Carlisle Shines, a loss support group that for the last 9 school years heard each other's heartbreaks.
And the hope is they don't need us anymore. You know, once they've got what they need and the tools they need to move on. The Heart Hands were the best idea.
Carlisle High School social studies teacher, grief and loss support group leader, Seth Roper, is helping his students create a lasting metaphor.
Grief and Loss Support Group does a community service project every year, and we've done different things. We've planted trees, we've gone to nursing homes, and so this year the students wanted to paint a mural.
Cope in ways that create strangers in the hallway.
I'm doing like the shading in between like the fingers, adding some more like contrast.
To become a shoulder for one another to lean on.
It's definitely better than having to go through that pain alone.
A student like Belma, she lost her cousin. This mural has opened up conversation to prove the point art can touch anyone's heart and help heal.
Like to know that someone's always gonna be there, someone's always gonna understand you, even if you don't have like a group kind of like this to be in. I just kind of want to get the word out that like they could talk about it, even if they don't want to.
We're just wrapping up the mural. We painted the background. We wanted a look of grass, maybe like a field. And then we put our circle with our hands over top of it and added our butterflies flying out around the picture.
And for one student, Leighton Schmick, it came full circle. His grandfather passed.
It was a year ago exactly to the day I joined.
While joining to just support a friend.
It just helped me as well.
And it'll help others.
Our hope is that they'll see it And it's something that either they'll want to come back to, or it may spur them to reach out to someone to do something to get to that point.
For one woman, it already has.
And I read that poem for his memorial service.
That is beautiful.
And when I looked up across and saw the butterflies, it made me feel that he loved butterflies.
I'm so happy I helped you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Kayla Schmidt, ABC 27 News.
And I hope that it made you proud too.
It did.
The small borough of Foxburg sits along the banks of the Allegheny River.
This area was very big in oil and gas back in the 1800s. And all these little towns around here back then were boom towns.
It was in 1874 when Joseph Mickle Fox, the grandson of the town's founder, journeyed to England for a series of cricket matches.
Then he ended up going to St. Andrews. He was befriended by old Tom Morse. Tom Morse made him clubs. He brought the clubs back to Pennsylvania. In 1884, he had an 8-hole golf course out of his state. It was too small. The course holes were too short. In 1887, he started building the course, and then it's been open ever since here.
Back then, the game of golf was only available to a small slice of society.
The only ones that played golf were the wealthy. People were playing in dresses, people had suits on.
And in those 135 years since, Foxburg Country Club has continued to operate.
We're the oldest in the United States. We have a 9-hole golf course open to the public. In today's terms, a short course, but with some of the tiniest greens probably in the country. It's only 3,400 yards for the 9 holes. There's 2 sets of tees, so you play it twice, you get your 18 in.
It has the unique features of the mounds in front of number 7, and they have big sand traps on a couple of the holes. When Joseph Mickle Fox designed the course, what he tried to do to design it like St. Andrews. The terrain didn't give you every hole like St. Andrews, but this hole here is a perfect replica like St. Andrews look. You have the fescue on the top, you have the deep bunker, but now we're realizing that, hey, we got something special here.
And that history is what brings Tom Johnson all the way to Foxburg from Ohio.
For me, it's the type of equipment that I enjoy using. Clubs, of course, are heavier. The grips are sheepskin. There's no lines on the face, so there's no grooves. The ball spins very little. It's absolutely the proper place to use it because it's one of the few places in this country that was available for that equipment, pre-1900 equipment.
And the history isn't just on the golf course. It's inside the clubhouse, which is home to the American Golf Hall of Fame.
And what we have here is a bunch of the old clubs that were made by different peoples in different eras. And you can see the 2 clubs on the very end. These clubs that old Tom Morse made. We have the history of the balls, from the feather ball the whole way up to the new balls up today.
It's a very unique course, and this is where golf in the United States began. So it's very historical. When you just think of that fact, this is where it started.
I look forward to coming home every night and putting a little paint on canvas and coming up with a picture.
When Brad Robertson of Mechanicsburg was first asked to paint a shelter dog,
This is Mars. He's a dog down in York, SPCA, I believe it is.
he knew he had the time but wasn't sure about the talent.
I wasn't even sure if I could paint a dog, so I painted one of my dogs. This was Stella. Posted on Facebook, and within the first couple hours, I had hits left and right with people asking to paint their dogs. So I figured, you know what, maybe I can do this.
He joined Cheddar Paws Dog Art, a group of 10 local artists that highlight shelter dogs in need of homes by putting their furry little faces on canvas.
I tend to go right for the eyes because I think that's the window of the soul of the dog.
Karen Speidel is the group's co-creator.
We have painted 240 dogs to date. 51 of them still remain unadopted. These are all the paintings.
Their work has raised awareness for hundreds of dogs by hanging them in local businesses.
To help dogs find homes through art, which we all love to do.
And whoever adopts the dog gets the forever friend and the fine art.
They're thrilled. They're like, can we pay you for this? And we don't handle any money. This is all free of charge to help dogs find homes.
The creation that I'm trying to do is like, look at me, here I am, I'm up for adoption.
They work off of photos of the dogs from local shelters, like the Humane Society of Lebanon County.
We often find ourselves getting calls for surrenders 3 times a day.
Who are overworked, overcrowded,
and extremely grateful for each brush stroke that helps their cause.
Rescues right now are struggling in general, and adoptions are low, fosters are low. We're struggling to place dogs, and we have so many on our waiting list. So it's so important that they paint our dogs to promote awareness.
My thought is the sooner the dog's painting gets out there, the sooner it's going to get adopted.
Brad went from painting landscapes
Just kind of go back and forth.
to painting pooches.
It's pretty emotional. It's exciting.
Now his passion, because with every hue, he offers hope.
If my painting is what makes a dog get adopted, then that's the greatest joy. It's worth more than any money that I could ever get for a painting.
All right, here we go.
We're at Downstown Area High School. We are with the cast and crew and pit of Mamma Mia 2020. Here we go again. March 13th, we got word. We were actually rehearsing. It was a Friday.
It was the age of no regret.
We're doing a run-through of the second act. All of a sudden the directors were called out of the rehearsal and they were like, just keep going, like keep running through it like we have been.
And we got word that school was closing down for 2 weeks in hopes that in 2 weeks' time we would be back and able to perform the show.
Bit more of the old Donna.
We went to the calendar and we're trying to say, okay, in 2 weeks, let's reschedule. Maybe at the end of April we can do this, maybe early May.
All right, Donna, you ready?
Yep.
Go for it.
This is gonna get pushed back for 2 weeks or this is gonna be canceled, and it was just canceled.
And then as it started to become more and more apparent that this show was not going to happen in the spring or the summer or even the fall, because we had thought maybe we would do it in the spring of 2021. Our kids didn't feel it was right to do it without the original cast. And the other problem with Mamma Mia is it wasn't allowed to be streamed. So we opted to do 2 junior shows.
You want to build a snowman?
We did Frozen Junior
Rising in the east.
and Beauty and the Beast Junior, both of which were streamed. Some of these Mamma Mia kids were in those shows. Others graduated and went on their way.
And I was lucky enough to be Elsa in Frozen. And I remember finishing Let It Go and then silence. And it was really strange because that's a huge showstopper number that you would expect to get at least like, a little applause for.
And then it was time to choose our show for 2022. We didn't feel that Mamma Mia was the right show because the kids now had graduated, 2 years had gone by. So we chose a show that we could stream if necessary, and so we did Anastasia in 2022. While we were rehearsing this past January, we said, could we do this in the summer? Could we get it to happen? We sent out some texts. Little by little, we started to hear back from kids, and we thought that we could do this. So we have a little bit of a mixture. We have 11 returning.
I love that they're doing this for us because they didn't have to do any of this for us. They could have just been like, maybe we'll do it another year with another whole group of kids. Then they were like, no, we want to bring you guys back. We want to be able to do this for you. Not everything has been lost, and we can get some things back or even create newer, better things out of what we lost back then.
Pictures.
That was France, and I guess he's sitting in some rubble. This is him with 2 French girls on their way to school.
And wartime souvenirs.
This is his actual basic field manual, Soldier's Handbook.
All Sharon Burtz has left of her grandfather, World War II veteran Mike Camerata.
He was in the 509th Light Pontoon Company.
Burtz's grandfather died in the 1970s.
I was a teenager when he died.
More than 20 years later.
In 2003, my grandmother just gave me this box, and she said, you're the only one who really asks me questions and wants to know about his time during the war. So when I opened the box, most of these items were in the box. There were pictures, there were bullets. They're heavy. I can't imagine getting hit with one.
Instead of letters,
that is him.
Burtz's grandfather mostly sent pictures home.
And he put, this is the hotel that I have been living in. These are some engineer pictures.
Sorting through them, Burtz learned he was an engineer in the Army.
They built bridges, made pontoon boats to get troops across rivers. The engineers were usually the ones that showed up first. So they came into gunfire, sniper fire.
But Burtz wanted to know more.
Just try to find information on the company which was really hard to do.
Struggling to find what she was looking for, Burtz took to Facebook, creating a page and posting her grandfather's photos.
Because I thought there might be other people out there who wanted to know more about that group.
Those other people found her.
I was coming up with various Google searches and came across this Facebook page of Mike Camerata, 509th Engineer Light Pontoon Company. I'll say, I'll be a son of a gun. It's the same unit. And here's a group photo. Right smack in the middle on the front row is my father. This is a document, shows the lineage of the 509th Engineers.
Dan Malley was doing his own research, piecing together his father's time in the war.
They were activated July of 1942 at Camp Gruber, Oklahoma. Dad rarely, if ever, spoke about his experience in the war. I knew he was a master sergeant in the Army, and then he was in the engineers. Other than that, I knew very little.
He saw that picture and reached out to Burtz.
And I went through every picture I have with a magnifying glass.
Turns out that wasn't the only photo of Malley's dad.
I recognized him right here. And then on the back, it says, "Here I am, having a glass of beer with a few friends."
Here was two guys from Philly, 8,000 miles away, having a beer together.
And when I saw the picture, I realized he was in so many of these pictures.
So Burtz and Malley joined forces.
Gives us dates of service.
Sharing the stories they knew so far.
Yeah, that's the different campaigns, right? Normandy.
And forging a new friendship, decades in the making.
And here we are, 80 years later, witnessing this friendship.
We were going to continue the friendship that the men had from 80 years ago.
The most important thing her grandfather, his father, left behind is the sacrifice these young men made for us all.
Each one of these guys in this photo put their life on the line for all of us.
Sonica Bargo.
They were kids changing the world.
ABC 27 News.
Well, this is Wally,
the emotional support alligator.
First reptile, as we know, in all of history.
This is not just a gimmick. Joe Henney rescues reptiles.
We work with several zoos, wildlife refuge parks, and stuff like that there. And that's where most of our gators go to.
Including two of Wally's siblings. But Wally, well, actually, this part of the story is about Joe.
I lost 3 family members and 4 lifelong friends. That all happened in 2 weeks. And my doctor wanted to give me antidepressant. I refused.
He had Wally.
He was just doing things I never seen alligators do. And then if I lay there and fall asleep, he'd either cuddle up beside me, put his head on my shoulder and his arm around me, which I really thought was extremely weird.
Or maybe not for an alligator who refuses to even kill alligator food.
He just made friends with him. He'd swim around with the rats in his pond. May I say hi to this lady?
Famous around here for a few years now. But then there was that day last weekend in Philly, Joe with his best friend Mary.
So it was Mary and her 2 children and myself and Wally decided to go to the splash pad over there.
They posted this video.
And they were coming from like a mile to 2 miles away to come get their picture and their hug and kiss from Wally.
And then attention from more than a mile or 2 away.
Works from all over the world, Ireland, Australia, and Africa. Everybody loves Wally for what he stands for and what he does.
What does he stand for? Why is it that people connect with Wally?
Because he helps needy people. He puts smiles on people's faces.
Wisdom for all of us from an alligator.
Try putting a smile on somebody's face today. Tell them you love them.
Seth Kaplan, ABC 27 News.
Doris Fonestock feels at home.
It's a Singer Featherweight Portable.
Behind her beloved sewing machine.
I've had it since 1953 when my husband was in the service. He bought that for me one year for Christmas. And I made a lot of things since then.
In 2016, she got the idea to turn her passion into a way to honor those she was passionate about. Her husband had served in the Navy.
He was in electronics. I'm very proud of him. This is your finished top.
So she founded Doris's Quilters for Vets with a goal to make 25 quilts in 4 weeks to gift to local service members.
And the one girl said, "That woman's got to be crazy. You can't do 25 quilts in 4 weeks." In 4 weeks, we had 27 quilts made. Thank you all for coming.
From
there's about 14 bundles that you're welcome to take today.
The project has grown.
I've done the rows and now I'm making the top.
And so has the legion of Doris's quilters.
I remember when we started out with 25 and was excited about that.
With each stitch, each swatch, creating a common thread of appreciation. They've given away more than 1,000 quilts to veterans in all 50 states.
Well, sometimes they get tears in their eyes, as do we, when we present the quilt, because they are so appreciative and couldn't believe that somebody would be willing to make something for them.
I think about people we've served with who are still perhaps paying the price for having served from injuries.
Karen Shirey has been with Doris from the beginning. Her husband, a retired colonel from Carlisle Barracks.
Frequently, they'll tear up and say thank you. That is our reward.
They find the vets through nursing homes, VFWs, VA hospitals, hoping to give them a physical reminder that their service is not forgotten.
Each one has a tag on it saying that this is from Doris's Quilters.
And we try and get a flannel. And the flannel makes it nice and warm so that they can use it in the wintertime. Dear Mrs. Fonestock,
Doris knows her quilts are warmly received.
Thank you for caring for service members and showing your support. Thank you, and God bless America.
And well loved.
We gave it to a man, and he was in his 90s. He lasted 6 months, and we know that he used that blanket for those 6 months.
And while her husband is also, sadly, no longer with her, her mission will live on as long as she is able to sit behind her singer.
And I think it's important for us to keep on going as long as we can.
December 7th, 1941, remembered.
They woke up that Sunday morning and it changed the course of history.
Japanese planes and bombs brought destruction and death to Pearl Harbor. More than 2,300 Americans killed. Every year, this ceremony pays tribute.
That it's increasingly rare to find someone who lived through the events of December 7th that brought us all here together this afternoon.
And in the past, several men told their harrowing and heroic stories.
All the fire and the smoke coming up and the bombers, the noises and the scraping got us up.
And I saw these planes up in the air. They looked like a bunch of bees.
And I just knew I was going to die.
Well, thinking about it,
but this year,
I'll never forget that day.
There is but one first-person account.
And all of a sudden, we seen these Japanese planes coming, and they were flying over towards the ship.
Richard Schimmel needs a walker. His feet may be slower, but his mind is not. We asked the key to being 100 years old.
I said, keep living. Go to church. That's a big thing.
Schimmel's from Allentown and one of the last Pearl Harbor survivors left in PA.
Several years ago, before the pandemic, we had that whole front line filled with World War II Pearl Harbor survivors, and it's very sad that we've lost them since then.
And lost on too many Americans, the importance of remembering that day. It's not lost on this admiral.
We have some competition that's going on with some of our adversaries in the Pacific, and we've got to be ready. We can never let this happen to us again.
Richard puts it a little differently.
It can happen anytime. They had these goofballs over there, you know what I mean? I'm going to not mention the countries, but it could happen again.
But not happening again? Richard said this is probably his last trip to Harrisburg for this event. Amazing Grace might be the swan song for a man who's pretty amazing himself. From a generation considered the greatest.
The Hanover Area YMCA encourages healthy living. And no member embodies that more than Les Savino.
You don't really get the full effect of Les till you meet Les.
From 7:30 to 10 in the morning.
I have a routine. I go from one to the next to the next. And if you disrupt that, you spoil my day. That's 115. That's one set. I do 3 sets, 45 reps.
5 days a week, you can find Les here.
85-pound weight. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I lift weights, and Tuesdays and Thursdays is aerobic exercises.
He's here so often, they named the gym after him.
I'm embarrassed. I'm a humble fella. I don't want any, say it, John. I don't want any notoriety. I just want to sit in my little corner.
I only got 25 years to catch up with you. So. Right?
I'll wait for you.
His friends have come and gone.
Well, we used to, but I've outlived them all, you know.
But since 1983, this room has been his constant.
I used to do a lot of work with dumbbells, but with my balance, if I pick up a dumbbell, I fall over. So I stopped doing that when I was 100.
Yes, Les is 100, past the century mark this August.
Exercising is the best healer there is, better than medicine.
He lives alone, drives himself here every morning.
And it's hard work. I don't look forward to getting up every morning at the crack of dawn to come in here and abuse my body, but that's what you have to do.
And Les knows a little something about hard work. Enlisting in the military, where he served as a B-17 pilot in World War II. Then a career as a food technologist until retiring at age 83. Les was married and raised 4 kids.
70 years. Her name was Barbara. She was my childhood sweetheart. We started dating when we were seniors in high school.
This Thanksgiving, he thinks of his Barbara.
My wife used to do all the cooking. She passed away 11 or 12 years ago, so now I do it.
But his kids think of him.
Now this year, my kids said, "Dad, you're not cooking the turkey this year. You're 100. What's that have to do with it?
At home or in the gym, Hanover's Century Man never uses his age as an excuse.
If I'm going to be living, I'm going to enjoy life. If I don't enjoy life, I don't want to be around.
'Tis the season for trees and lights and the magic of Christmas. And what would Christmas be without Santa and his famous reindeer?
They're miracle animals, they really are.
Every December, these 9 reindeer visit Hershey Park.
They come here to vacation.
You know Dasher and Dancer.
Dasher's a little sweetheart.
But who you might not know.
Hi. How are you?
Is the woman who brings these magical animals
now, if you were a reindeer
to life
and you wanted to fight with somebody, they might not want to fight back because what would happen with this point?
For 25 years, Denise Snyder has been a fixture at Santa's stables.
You can feel the antler if you want to.
Taking care of the big man's reindeer.
My favorite part is the day they get here. The excitement. Oh, it's so cool. And seeing them come off the truck.
To her, it's a stroke of luck.
Well, when I was little, I was always drawing pictures of reindeer, but never in my life did I think that someday I'd even be next to one.
But take a closer look.
That's right.
And you'll see she lives and breeds these animals.
Reindeer socks, reindeer slippers, reindeer pajamas, reindeer underwear, reindeer everything. I have at least 60 pairs of earrings.
She knows and loves them all.
So they're all different. They all have different personalities, and it's just so much fun getting to know them. That's Comet. She's short and squat and wide. She's a troublemaker.
Anything you want to know about reindeer?
If you have any questions, just holler them out to me. Don't be shy. Do you want to feel them?
From the educational.
And boys and girls get antlers in reindeer. Did you know that?
To the magical.
Which one's Rudolph? That's the main question we get.
She'll have an answer.
So that's Rudolph you're taking a picture of right now. Where's his red nose? Well, he'll turn it on when Santa wants him to.
And she loves her job.
I love it. I love what I do. It's so much fun.
Bringing the joy of the holidays to kids from 1.
When you get to talk to little children this time of the year and the questions you get, there's nothing like it. Do you have a favorite reindeer?
Yeah.
And who would that be?
Rudolph.
No kidding.
To 92.
This one right here is Dancer.
Oh, that's...
Look. Can you see Dancer's eyes? Dancer has like white eyebrows. I had a lady that had a chaperone because she couldn't get around herself, and to see the joy in her eyes got to me.
She can't share every secret. She doesn't even know them all.
They fly because of what Santa feeds them. We're not allowed to feed them that. We don't even have the recipe. We sign a contract when we take the job to not do that.
But Snyder's determined to make sure what you see.
Rudolph is usually up front because Rudolph really enjoys the crowd.
And even what you don't see.
But I know that the reindeer come and they stand where their name is, and then Santa comes in, gives them a little bit of magic dust.
Is truly magical.
I hope they take away the wonder of the animal world and the miracles of creation.
With photojournalist Anthony Durso.
Well, you know the magic of Christmas.
I'm Sonica Bargo.
Anything can happen.
We are in the Gym of the Salvation Army, which has been turned into our Christmas workshop.
A busy time inside the nonprofit in Harrisburg.
We have over 1,000 boxes here that are all on the floor. Each one represents a child that we will be serving this Christmas. And in that box, there's typically a wish, which is something fun. And we're also looking for needs that they have, often a warm coat, perhaps a blanket.
But not all make the list.
This is absolutely, for many families, the only gift that they will receive this Christmas season.
That's where West Hanover Township's Stella Gasper makes Christmas bright.
I have organized my 3rd annual sock and blanket drive for the Salvation Army Harrisburg.
In her first year,
I collected so much. I had over 500 something pairs of socks and blankets. I had boxes stacked up to like almost the ceiling at my house. These are all of the socks and blankets that I have for this year. This one is really full here. This one's like barely holding on.
The Central Dauphin 10th graders' numbers,
there's a lot. I'd say probably around 15 to 20 bags,
are impressive.
These are the totals for this year. We're at 139 blankets and 613 pairs of socks. Yeah, it's insane. It's crazy.
3 years of donations adds up to nearly 2,200 socks and blankets.
I just want to be able to spread the warmth, is what I like to call it.
Wrapped in compassion.
She always thinks about other people. She really is just a kind soul. She wants to make sure that everyone feels included.
I've gotten so much from the community, just with like donations for my sock and blanket drive. I want to be able to go and help and really give back to them.
By packing up and delivering.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Christmas cheer.
These items are going to the students that weren't sponsored in our program, so now there's going to be something warm that they can put on their body that will be in their box.
I just want to be able to like look back later in life and just be like, I was able to do this. I just can't wait to make all these kids and families happy with all the socks and blankets.
We're having a blood drive here today. Every 2 seconds in the United States, someone's in need of life-saving blood.
But perhaps no one has more drive to give blood than this guy.
The very first donation I made was in high school over 34 years ago.
Ever since, Vinton Smith has been rolling up his sleeves.
You've done this before, right?
I think so.
Roughly every 56 days.
I was inspired by my dad's commitment to give blood regularly, and both of my parents' commitment to help others in our community.
But Vinton's community keeps expanding. And we're off.
My quest now is to donate at least 1 unit of whole blood in all 50 states.
I'm blown away. I'm not even sure our team at national headquarters has heard of someone undertaking such a journey.
Really, it takes somewhere about 5 to 10 minutes at the most usually for the actual blood donation.
A journey that began 14 years ago when he took a new job that required lots of travel.
First time I was away from home and I was eligible to give, I said, well, I guess I could donate blood here. I was in Florida and donated blood in Florida.
That was 40-something states ago. Only Idaho, Nevada, Alaska, and Hawaii have not tapped into Vinton's veins.
You know, I think Hawaii would be a great place to cap it all off.
Vinton is certain his blood is saving lives, but he wonders which lives.
Who's going to be on the receiving end of that? Who might benefit from that? Of course, I'll never meet them. I'll never know who they are, but that's okay. But that mystery to me just is inspiring to think about those who are benefiting from an act of kindness. And honestly, not just from myself, but from everyone who donates blood.
But Vinton isn't just focused on human life.
Why were linden trees chosen?
We first met him in Gettysburg.
I thought, well, there's got to be a way I can do this.
Taking grafts and creating saplings.
Perhaps picking a section about like that, removing the bark entirely, and then scraping the cambium layer away from the bark so that the branch can't get any nutrients whatsoever.
So that so-called witness trees can live forever.
That tree witnessed the Battle of Gettysburg, provided aid and comfort to soldiers waiting to come into the church where they would be cared for. Some may have lost their limb or lost their life, and that tree was one of the last things that gave them comfort. Almost done.
And Vinton gives comfort by giving blood and preserving family trees.
The chance for a mother to see her son graduate, a father to walk his daughter down the aisle during her wedding, the chance for grandparents to hold their grandchildren and get to know them. There are a few things that somebody can do that have such a big impact on people's lives. This is 135 whole blood donations.
Oh, that's awesome to hear.
So that's over 400 lives saved. A few minutes of time to save their life, to enable them to have more moments with their family and loved ones that will have impacts that transcend generations in their family.